Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this Purchase to Pay webinar, where we will be covering the complete process from master data management to accounts payable. Today, we will show you market-leading solutions to optimize your purchase to pay processes. We will help you to make better and faster decisions, automate your workflows, and help you to provide the right goods and services at the right time and quantity. First of all, I would like to give you a brief introduction to BE-terna. BE-terna is one of the leading European providers of cloud-based industry-specific software solutions. We are powered by the entire Microsoft Dynamics 365 portfolio and other components. We are a full-service provider working within the space of ERP, CRM, analytics. We do global projects and support innovative mid-size companies. Some of the overall figures of BE-terna Group: we are 1,200 colleagues across the group. We have a turnover of 150 million euros. We are based in 10 countries with 28 locations, 28 offices. We do more than 3,000 successful projects, and we are also behind a global partner network that covers more than 70 countries and 70 partners, 85 countries, sorry. For this webinar, we have invited a group of highly skilled colleagues to help us get an overview of the purchase to pay processes, and I would like to start introducing them to you. First, we have Milan. Milan is our data and AI customer landing manager. He's from Zagreb, Croatia, and been working with BE-terna for more than 10 years. Milan is head of our data and AI department he has been head of our data and AI department for more than 6 years now, and is leading our business development activities. He's focused on the end-to-end data strategies and applied AI solutions across the supply chain. Next to Milan, we have Nicolai. Nicolai is based in Aarhus, Denmark, and been with BE-terna for 4 years. Nicolai has 10 years of ERP experience as a senior consultant and solution architect, and he has 5 years of experience working with the Power Platform that you will see part of later. Thomas Richter is our senior consultant and EDI expert from BE-terna. He lives in Vienna, Austria, and has been with BE-terna for more than 15 years. Thomas has more than 25 years of experiences with EDI solutions and is responsible for all our EDI activities within Dynamics 365. Thomas is also the producer of the BE-terna module EDI add-on for Dynamics 365 that you're going to see throughout this webinar. Johan Gren is our data consultant from Logiq. Johan comes from Stockholm and has been working with e-commerce since 1994. Johan is specialized in the process around order to cash and purchase to pay. So with that introduction, let's start with the first phase of the purchase to pay. First of all, how do we ensure that our master data on products and services are up to date? For instance, that could be the price updates, the availability of stocks, the product information, and pictures. Of course, we could start scrolling through vendors, suppliers' websites and web shops. But Johan, I understand that you have a more innovative way. Can you show us an example of how that works?
Yes, of course, Jesper.
And good morning to you.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning, all. You changed the slide, maybe?
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. Now you have your perfect purchase system, and you want to get the data into that, of course. And you have 2 ways of doing that. You can have as you mentioned, scroll out for an external web shop and get the punch-out files in. Or you want to import all the catalogs into your purchasing system. So you want to enable all of your suppliers to send in price catalogs files, regardless if there are an XML file or a CSV file or whatever file they want to send, because that would ensure that you will get more suppliers on board sending in those files if you let them work in the way they are used to work and let them use the operators and networks they're used to operate in. So what we try to say a success factor is enable your suppliers to send behind any network using any of the formats they want, and we will ensure that you will always get the format that you can import directly into your system. Yeah.
Sounds good, Johan. One question: does that mean that that we will also be notified about changes in prices and availability and information like that?
Yeah, you can do that in two ways. Either your system will alert you of any price changes, or if anything changes with your next import, or we can build a report, validate all the data, notify you with any like price changes, changes in the content of a package, if you change for 6 to 8 pieces, for an example. So absolutely, you will have 100% control over your imports.
That sounds very time consuming. Thank you so much for that, Johan. All right, so now that Johan has shown us how we can get our product catalog of suppliers, items and services updated in our systems. Now we need to find out what we actually would like to require, which quantities to purchase, when do we need it in stock, and at what location or warehouse do we actually need it. Milan, I understand that we could of course walk around with a paper and pen and see what's missing on the stocks, but I understand you have a more intelligent solution for that.
That's correct, Jesper. Thanks for this intro. Paper and pen, I think, would broke at a couple of hundreds of items, and not to mention a couple of tens of thousands, or even more at, let's say, car parts after sales industry. So basically, moving on to the next slide, how we utilize, how we help you to do this in BE-terna is by utilizing our platform for, we call it demand forecasting and supply chain planning. Now, obviously, this platform has multiple modules. I'm not going to go into details through all of them. That's definitely a separate topic, but I'm going to mention some of the most important to help you understand how do we add value here. So obviously, after gathering various data information, both internal and external, like weather forecast, holiday seasons, some industry specifics, third-party data. And we utilize our roughly 15 machine learning algorithms to deliver forecasts, to deliver demand forecast, right? Why 15? Because each of them is specific in handling different type of items, newcomers, slow movers, first fillings, seasonal items, etc. So after we have this forecast of a demand from market, what we do then is advise you with the planned orders. So we recommend quantities that you would need to order in order to make sure you have enough goods to assess this demand from a market, right? But this module takes into account various constraints, from the logical ones like actual lead time, not the one necessarily printed on a master data item, up to minimum order quantities, minimum order values, taking various logistical information like pallets, pieces into account, etc. Right? So we provide end user with this information. Multi-location and collaborative planning actually means exactly what the topic says, and that is that we can do these processes either for one central warehouse, for multiple warehouse stores, for retail stores directly, if you have a vendor shipping the goods directly to your stores, right? So this purchase order can be pre-filled with any type of a structure. And to end up this story, now obviously this platform integrates somehow with your existing systems. And that's actually 2 integration points. So number one is visible here on the slide, and the module is called KPIs and reporting. And that's basically a simple Power BI application which helps customers to interpret the result and the recommendation that the platform gave, right? So we usually deal with people who've been doing this business 5, 10 or 15 years. And now there's a system telling them which quantity to order. Now, obviously, this could be a change management issue, but that's why we engage together with end users user, right? So we sit together and we try to understand why did the system recommend, I don't know, 550, while as person thinks 600 would be required, right? And then in the same way, algorithms can learn from a correction that a person does. So that's one integration point. And second integration point is basically direct, for example, overnight integration into an ERP system, right? Or in our case, into Dynamics F&O. So basically what you're going to see in a couple of minutes is the end result of this whole process integrated in this platform, integrated with a purchase order, basically preparing the quantities that a person should order for each specific vendor and each specific item.
I understand that you've prepared a couple of examples for some loudspeakers.
Exactly. So if you move on to a next slide, there are basically two, but they're similar. You can just try to get a glimpse and feelings about how this looks like in this Power BI app. So what you can see here is basically our mid-range speaker with all relevant master data information, with current stock in it, with recommended quantity to order, right? And with some forecast figures. And now if you take a look at the lower set of visualizations, so on the left-hand side, in a gray, we obviously have a historical sales. And then in a dark blue or purple dark, we have forecast for our sales of this mid-range speaker, right? And then in a lower segment in the middle, there is a stock value also simulation. So basically this information gives us a feeling how did the stock level look like historically, and how should stock level look like in future if demand forecast happens as we plan, and if we place orders as we plan to do orders. And basically already on this simple use case, you can see the result we're trying to achieve. So this stock level simulation historically was full of ups and downs, and stock outs and then overstocks, etc. And then what we try to do with these automated algorithms is basically to keep those spikes smaller, and to make sure companies do not end up with stock outs. And up for now, I have to say the results are basically amazing, so you usually lower these stock outs for more than 90%, so almost eliminate them, right?
Those are really impressive figures. Yeah.
Exactly.
And you made another example here too.
Yeah, exactly. But basically a similar one, just showing the maybe on this one I can share the example that also while avoiding completely stock outs, right? What we also do is basically lower the overstock, which basically results in a freed up cash or freed up capital, right? Mm-hmm. So this is just an end business result of what you're currently seeing this as a process automation that you're going to see in the following example by Thomas.
Thank you, Nicolai. Yeah, thank you so much, Milan. That was very helpful. Thank you. All right. So now that Milan has created 2 order proposals for us, or machine learning did it, but these order proposed, how can we carry those out for internal approval process by our stakeholders? Obviously, we need someone with a human eye to take a look at these orders. Nicolai, I understand you have a solution for that.
Yes, good morning, Jesper, and thank you.
Good morning.
And you're absolutely right that that we can do this internal approval of the planned orders. So today I will show you how you can utilize one of the fastest emerging technologies, the Power Platform, together with Dynamics 365 F&O to free up time on tedious daily routines. For instance, this approval of planned orders. So in this example, I'll show you here, we are helping the supply chain planner executing a tedious routine that they do every day. So in this case, you see that we have the demand input from Milan. So we have the mid-range speaker and the standard speaker. We see the requirement quantity, and we see the order and the delivery date. But what is important here is that when they are imported into the system, they will be in a status saying unprocessed. So nobody has really taken care of these lines and considered if this is a requirement that we will actually firm into actual purchase orders. So for the supply chain planner to do this, they need line by line to approve these demands. and that can be a tedious task for any supply chain planner. So how can we actually automate this process? To do that, we need one component of D365 F&O, which we refer to as business events. And business events provide us a catalog of different triggers throughout the system. So here you see 3 triggers related to our procure to pay process. And here we have a planned purchase order approval business event. That means basically that whenever we have a planned purchase order record created in the system, we will be able to trigger a automated workflow. And that leads us and direct the focus to the Power Automate component, which is a tool created by Microsoft where we can actually quite easily drag and drop different objects to create a business flow. And as you see here, initially we start with a business event, and we also refer to this as a business event workflow. So whenever we have this planned purchase order record, we will initiate this flow. This input from F&O is validated, and a condition is then built in that if this business event is valid, then we will initiate an approval workflow. And then, next slide, please. The output of the approval will be available from on different channels, supporting, first of all, the modern workspace thought that we see a lot of companies today that are pushing their employees into teams to build up this modern workplace feeling. And the approvals will be available within Teams. And this is just an example of this approval where the supply chain planner will see the different planned order IDs. What items do we actually concern here? And what are the data in these planned orders? We also do respect that a lot of companies still work in Outlook and use Outlook as the steering tool throughout the day. So the approval notification is also, of course, available in Outlook, where you can do the approval and rejection. And then last but not least, we have the approval notification available on our mobile devices. So that could be on our phones, on our tablets, or whatever device you have in hand. But the point is that it's really easy to approve or reject. In our scenario here, the supply chain planner will, of course, approve these planned orders. And once we approve these, the flow will push back the information to D365 F&O and update the impacted records accordingly. So the point here is that you now see that the status has changed from unprocessed to approved. And then typically supply chain scenario, you will have a recurrent batch job running 1, 2, 3 times a day, firming planned orders that are in status approved, and then they will be flipped into real purchase orders. Yeah, back to you, Jesper.
Yeah, thanks. That's really smart. Nicolai, one question here. Can these workflows be used for other purposes as well? You mentioned something about a catalog of events before. Yeah.
Indeed, they can. The catalog consists of many hundreds of different business triggers. But the good thing about D365 F&O is that we can quite easily build extensions. So whatever business purpose we would like to solve and automate, we can build fit for purpose business events.
Thank you. And I know that we're actually doing Power App in a Day in April and in May. So if you're sitting out there and would like to start building your own apps by using these events, you can actually join these workshops. But we'll notify you about that when we get closer. Thank you so much for that, Nicolai. All right. So now we have the stakeholders' approval of the purchase orders, and they are released to be sent. So now we can start creating emails and saving these purchase orders as PDFs and attaching them. But Thomas, I understand we have an easier way of sending these purchase orders to our suppliers. Is that so?
Good morning.
And good morning to you too. Yeah.
Hello. Sure, and I can demonstrate the process in a small live demo. After the export, I can show you also the import of an order confirmation, delivery notice, and invoice from a vendor. All these export and import processes are part of our BE-terna EDI add-on for finance and supply chain management. Okay, I'll share my desktop for the demo now.
Thank you, Thomas.
So, for purchase-to-pay processes, we deliver a special workspace to handle these processes directly in our EDI add-on. We started 2 purchase orders created by previous processes like AI forecasting, master planning, or of course manually created purchase orders. In our case here, we see under the section export journals and order 2 unexported purchase orders with 225 and 226 created in previous sessions from Milan. The export process with our configurable converter for the data is normally a fully automated process, but in this case I do it manually to show you the step. So press the export button here, go to OK, and yes, you can see now the export is successfully done, and we see some new informations for our purchase orders by clicking on journal ID and clicking on the tab data. We can view our actually created data. And for a first look, we can also download the EDI data to the local computer with a simple click.
And this is basically an XML file that you're showing here.
That's basically an XML file, but the format is fully configurable within our integrated converter. Normally, this EDI data is now automatically downloaded in the background and made available to the supplier, either directly or via a service provider such as our EDI partner Logiq. Back to you, Jesper.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Thomas. So back my screen here. All right. So thank you for showing how to export these purchase orders. We just have a little struggle here, Thomas, and maybe you, Johan, can help answer that, because I understood that not all of our suppliers are actually capable of receiving this XML format that Thomas just exported from our ERP system. Do you have a solution for that, Johan?
Absolutely, and we would like to call it a one-stop shop to sending and receiving orders, of course. So please just switch slides. So yeah. So we now in the process of receiving an order and want to send that order out. So we get the XML file from Thomas. Thank you, Thomas. Very detailed and full XML file. And that enables us to actually send it out in the supplier's preferred format. So once receiving an order file in the XML format from Thomas, we will first look at who's the receiver, who's going to receive this order, and where are they located? Are they located in a Peppol network or in ESPA network, or is someone we have a direct connection with, or behind any other van operators in the world? And then we will check, okay, what formats do we usually send to this supplier or to this operator, and then we will convert it to that format and send it that way. We can also do a dynamic check every time for each order to see, has this supplier registered in a new network. So we will with each for each file check the network's e-registers to see if they used to be behind an operator. Today they want this within the Peppol network. They used to receive it in an EDIFACT format, and now they want a Peppol XML format. So we will take all that off you and see that your supplier will get the order in the way they want it. And of course, they can then send order response and so forth in the same way back from their network, from their system, and so forth.
What happens if this is a carpenter or a bakery that we are trying to order? Yeah,
exactly. You mentioned before that you used to send it out via email. You can switch slides. And sending out an order via email, yeah, that's good, but it will also means that you probably will get the response back as an email, and then you have a manual process for handling that PDF or however the response is. So we would like to say to you, go 100% EDI from the beginning. Just use your XML files as you want to use them. We will get an XML file from you, and we will send an XML file back to you. Anyone who can receive an order electronically will do that, as I shown in the slide before. Those who isn't registered for an e-order will get an email from us. They will be put down in our portal, and they can then log into the portal, download the PDF. We will always create a PDF from the XML file here, so they don't have to have an XML viewer to read the orders, actually view it in a PDF. And in the so here they will see that they have received orders. I think next slide should be, yeah. So you can actually see you have received an order for the speakers here that we talked about earlier. So this is an easy way for your supplier to handling order in a portal or via email if they like.
And they can also reply to it?
Yeah. In the portal, the supplier can choose to flip an order to an order response very easily just by pressing confirm. And that will be sent back automatically as the order was laid. If they want to do changes to the order, the changes could be, for an example here now, it's just changing the dates, changing the price, or the quantity of the order. If you aren't able to deliver 396 mid-range speakers at once, you can change it to 300. And you can also add a new line telling that I can deliver the rest of the 96 on a later date, as shown in the picture here.
Oh yeah, you deliver date in the right-hand corner. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So this is the manual process that they can do it. But if the supplier wants to keep on mailing their PDF, they can take an add-on service to this portal that they mail the PDF to the portal, and we will convert the PDF into EDI and XML files for you. So we actually will take out all the manual handling from yourself to the supplier who choose to work with PDFs and not an order system.
Wow, smart. Thank you so much, Johan. Thomas, with all this information that came back from Johan, either via EDI or via the input portal, can you show how these confirmed order responses would look like?
Hi again. Yes.
Yeah.
I'll share my desktop again.
Thank you.
So we start the reception in our well-known workspace by clicking on all import confirmations in the overview section. As you can see here, there are more tiles for special entries. You see here one special tile for unposted vendor confirmations here. And all these tiles you can configure yourself. So in this case, the technical import of the EDI data was already done. And now we see two unposted confirmations for the purchase order 225 and 226. By clicking on post, we can now process these two confirmations. In case of processing, 3 steps happen: data conversion and completion, for example, the conversion of a cheating or an external item number to an internal item number. The data validation, for example, the validation of the order number, the order line number, or the ordered quantity. There's also the possibility to create a price range in which the confirmation can send us valid or invalid prices. So after the successful validation, we start step 3, the data posting. And in this case, the confirmed prices and the delivery dates are written back to the purchase order. So I do the posting for the first one here. And in this case, we got the data with a higher price and a changed confirmed date. So you can see this information on the screen. We have now the confirmed date changed, and we have also a new price in the purchase order. Jump to the purchase order to show you the new price here and the new delivery date here. So back to you, Jesper.
Thank you for that. All right, so things has changed now. We had some updates to the order confirmation. Price change, quantity, delivery date was changed. So of course now we need to take the phone and or send an email or chat message or whatever. But Nicolai, I understand that the Power Platform could be used for the process of confirming these purchase orders internally by our stakeholders.
Indeed, Jesper, we can. So now in this scenario, we are looking into a slightly different scenario where we like to support the procure to pay process, of course, but also the ambition here is to be on top of and verify the data coming from the external partner, in this case, the supplier. So here we got the original order before it was confirmed by Thomas. So the purchase order lines, as you see in top, are of course in status approved, with the line for order 225 below with the old data. So you see the delivery date and the unit price hasn't changed here. So Thomas's EDI process will update these to confirmed. In continuation of the confirmation, we will then be able to, again, as a basis, use the business events. And this time we will be utilizing the purchase order confirmed business event, which means that every time a purchase order is updated to status confirmed, we will be able to initiate a approval workflow. So that again leads the attention to the Power Automate, where we see again a flow starting with a business event. And of course, this is the confirmation of the orders. This flow will, of course, be a bit more complex than the previous one I showed, because now we have some matching between new and old values to actually validate on. But that's the good thing about the business events, is that we can get the original order data and we can get the confirmation data from the EDI message that Thomas sent. And this is just a simple match. So we will match the delivery date, the unit price, and the quantity on the purchase order lines. And of course, if there are no deviations, there's no reason to annoy anyone in the organization. So we'll just terminate the flow and let the confirmation be as it is. On the other hand, if we do have deviations, we will initiate an approval flow. And based on that approval flow, we will update information back to D365 F&O. So if you take the next slide, we will again see the approval notifications here, again on the different channels, Teams, Outlook, and mobile. But this time, again, a slightly different message. So we see that we now have a notification about our purchase order 225 from our vendor, Fabricam Electronics. And they have provided us some data, and the highlighted ones are, of course, the changed values that Thomas also showed. And then here, easily by hand, the stakeholders in our organization can approve these vendor changes or they can reject them. So if the stakeholder rejects these changes, we will actually update the order with the old data, and that will flip the order back to approval status, and then we can go through the whole EDI process again with a new confirmation sent to the supplier. If we approve, yeah, we just update, as you see here, we update, we don't do an update, we just remain or keep the values provided by the EDI, and then this purchase order will remain confirmed with the new values shown here. So.
Wow. Brilliant. Thank you so much. Thank you, Nicolai. All right, so Johan, I understood that since we now confirmed these orders and everything, I understood that also a dispatch advice could be submitted either by the portal or sent as an EDI format, so that we have a chance to match the goods against the purchase orders at our warehouse.
Yes, absolutely. You can send the dispatch advice as normally as an XML or EDI messages, but it's worth notice that a lot of suppliers can actually receive an order, send out an order response, but haven't implemented the dispatch advice yet. And for those suppliers, they can actually go into the portal in that level, so they will have the order confirmation already done by the system, and then they could do the dispatch advice here if they like. And they can also use the portal to print out labels for the pallets or boxes, if they like, down to level 3. So both manually or semi-manually, I would say then, you can use the portal for dispatch advice.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I understand that they can also flip this purchase order to an invoice.
Yes.
Sales order.
As soon as you send the goods away, you can flip it to an invoice, and all the data from the first order down to the dispatch advice will follow into the invoice. So you will have an easy matched invoice at the end. But you will probably get it before the goods, though. But
yeah. Okay, but then we can wait
that's
for
another problem. Yeah.
Yeah. Then we can wait for the freeway matching later on. Yeah. Thank you so much, Johan. Thomas, can you show how the reception of this dispatch advice would look like within the application?
Yes. Sharing my desktop again.
Thank you.
Very similar to the order confirmations, we start our journey at our purchase to pay workspace and click on import a vendor packing slip. Now we see 2 unposted delivery notices for the purchase order 225 and 226. And by clicking on post single, we create a warehouse arrival journal in 3 steps. You know the steps. Step 1, data conversion and completion. Step 2, the data validation, for example, valid order number or valid delivery notice number. Step 3, data posting. In this step, we create a warehouse arrival journal. So I do this here. Oh, there's an error. Because this exists. Okay, I have to change the message here. And post a single again. So now we got this warehouse arrival journal. Usually there are still additional warehouse processes after this creation, but they are deactivated for this demo. So the import of package structures like package ID and the quantities based on these packages are also possible. Yes, after creation of the warehouse arrival journal, we can access the warehouse journal by clicking it and post this journal now. And finally, we will create the the product receipt. Oh, it's also an error. Okay. Nicolai has not confirmed it.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
So the product receipt isn't possible. You see, everything has his own steps. Back to you, Jesper.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you. That's the joy of doing live demos, right? But here's another example of how, of course, the dispatch advice will then become available either on a VMS portal or even the Power Platform, where the warehouse employees can confirm the reception of the goods. Now, sorry to disturb you again, Thomas, but I also understood that Johan sent you an invoice for these items.
Correct.
Can you show how we can detect that invoice and recognize it as being a part of the P2P process?
Yes. Our final purchase to pay process within our EDI item is the creation of a pending vendor invoice. We start at our well-known workspace, and now we see here two unposted vendor invoices for purchase order 225 and 226. Especially for the users from the finance department, we have an extra button to validate the data without any posting. But by clicking on the post signal, we create the pending vendor invoice in our well-known 3 steps: data conversion, completion, data validation as step 2. For example, especially for the invoice process, is the three-way matching validation against the purchase order, the delivery notice, and the detailed amount of the invoices. Data posting or the creation of the pending vendor invoice is the last part, and step 3. So after creation of the pending vendor invoice, we can access and finally post this invoice. So the delivery wasn't done in the last section. I cannot post
It's okay.
This invoice now. So, but yes, you can view all these things here.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Thomas. Thank you. So just to wrap up here, we can support 2-way, 3-way, and 4-way matching of invoices. First of all, we had the purchase order that was it was confirmed by the use of PowerFlow that this purchase order was actually authorized. We had our stakeholder approving that in the Power Portal. We actually received a supplier's invoice that verifies the amount and payment terms following the original purchase order via the EDI flow that Johan and Thomas showed us. For the 3-way matching, it proves that the purchase was actually delivered either on the VMS or in the Power Portal. A 4th-way of option that 4-way of matching that we haven't shown in this webinar is the product acceptance. So you could also, for instance, use Power Platform if you want a quality check or something like that to verify that it's not only received the quantity that it was expected, but it was also confirmed to be in the right quality. So that would be the 4-way of matching the invoice against the purchase orders. By that, we have covered the whole purchase to pay process, and we would be very open to take questions. I can see that there's also a couple of questions submitted here. One of our participants in the webinar is asking, is it possible to do all these import and export processes starting at AI forecasting also in Business Central?
Yeah, I guess that's one for me, huh? So basically, the simple answer is yes, and all of those modules that I presented can be utilized as a solution on its own. For example, the module for demand forecasting can be integrated as an API to, for example, BC, and then the remaining of the ordering and replenishment process can be, stuck and delivered in BC. However, we think that there are a couple of other steps in this process that can be optimized comparing to, using them. I like to use word linearly inside of the BC, for example. I'll just name two. So first one would be actual lead time versus the listed lead time, So process in ERP is probably automatically going to utilize the information stuck in a master data item information, right? While as algorithm can learn that last 3 deliveries were not shipped in 30 days as they were supposed to, but in 40, 42, and 44, and then utilize this actual information into, schedule when to order next. And second one, even more interesting, is safety stock, right? So we don't utilize like a fixed safety stock, and we don't require a person to correct this safety stock, right? But what we use is the information on the error range that the algorithm did historically, right? So if we know we have an item where we did error of an X, for example, right? We always inbuilt this information into safety stock that we, do not go under. So that means that in a high seasons, this safety stock is going to be larger. But on the other hand side, in low seasons, the safety stock is automatically going to be lower. And basically that means also a freed up capital to do some other business.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Milan. If you would like to raise
Maybe
a question,
I can also answer the
please.
question because we're talking maybe about an EDI add-on and business and BC have also an EDI add-on in Microsoft App Stores. So like F&O, BC have also a similar fact sheet with purchase to pay processes. Not exactly the same, but yes, it's possible.
Very
also
well.
In BC.
Thank you so much, Thomas. If you would like to raise a question as well, feel free to click the Q&A button on your screen. There's also another question coming here. Power automation seems wise. All right, Nicolai. So someone likes the power solution here, but isn't it just another technology making companies more dependent on Microsoft and external developers?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it's a real concern, of course. But you could say the idea and the good thing about the Power Platform is, of course, that it's supporting the thought about the citizen developers. So the Power Platform is quite intuitive and can be taught by people who are not maybe IT professionals. And we do see a lot of our customers who has the desire of learning Power Automate and Power Apps and all these technologies. And it's a learning by doing, and we also do training sessions. And as you mentioned, Jesper, Power App in a Day is a good example of where we teach clients how to work with the Power Platform. But of course, if it gets really complex, then in some scenarios you need some skilled developers. For a long way, you can get with the basic skills.
Yeah. I even noticed that we have built a Power App for our canteen in our office in Denmark for Friday morning bread.
Yeah.
Works very well. All right. You mentioned the numerous business events that are available in standard Dynamics. Is it complex to create new business events if specific triggers are desired? I guess that's one for you as well, Nicolai.
Yeah, I can take that one. So I think I mentioned it shortly that we have a standard set of business events, but they can easily be add-ons for different business scenarios that we want to support. So again, it depends on the complexity, of course, but basically a business event is exposing a set of data whenever an action is happening. So wherever we will hook on that action, and we will expose the data that we need for the flow. So yeah, I will say it's quite easy.
Thank you for that. I don't believe we have any more questions. So with that, I would like to thank you all for joining today. Please feel free to reach out to the experts joining this webinar, and do not forget to visit our website, be-terna.com/insights, for more information. Thank you so much for joining this webinar today. We all wish you a very great day and see you for the next webinar.
Thanks, team.